welcome back to Gaza Tech Line, and in today's video we are going to learn about how to create a simple complementary card. We will start by creating a new work document. Go to File, then New, then we set our canvas. Let's set a width of 4.8 inches and a height of 3.2. It's on confirm. Now we have a nice canvas set. Now I'm going to introduce a vertical rule to the middle and a horizontal rule to the middle as well. After doing this, I'll open a new layer. Then I go to the tools to select a rectangle tool or rectangular shape tool. Then I come and draw a rectangle here. Now once I have this drawn, I'm going to change the color of this to a gradient color or a gradient map. In order to do that, I go to the property of the layer, then I go to the color, and I come to the third icon here, which is the gradient. Now I can see the gradient is here, or the gradient map is here, and the gradient map here is representing the bar here. Now this black is representing this side of it, and this white is representing the upper side of it. I'm going to change the white to something darker gray, then change this black to something lighter. I think this is okay. Let me bring this back a little bit. Now what I'm going to do now is I right click, then I go to blending option. Once I go to blending option, I will introduce stroke. And what stroke does is, stroke is an outline. I'm giving the shape an outline. And let me give the shape an outline of 5 pixels. 5 is okay. Let me make it 8. 8 is okay. And hit on okay. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lock this rectangular shape, or the shape 1. I'm going to lock it to prevent it from moving. And after locking this shape, I'm going to draw a nice rectangle here. After drawing this rectangle, I'm going to use this rectangle as a guide to create some calibrations. Now I'm going to bring this rectangle beneath this and name this as guide. After doing this, I can move this a little bit up. Then after doing that, I open a new layer. I go to my tools and go to my line tool and draw a line, a horizontal line. Then make sure the color or the fill is darker gray or something darker. I want to create a design with that, something darker. I think this is okay. And the height is 1 pixel. This is okay. Now after this, I will go back to my guide and bring this guide down here. After bringing this guide back down here, I'll go back to my line tool and I'll draw a line beneath the guide. Hit on OK. After that, I repeat the process. Sorry, I didn't open a new layer. So open a new layer, then new line selected, I draw. Now I go to my move tool and position it very well. Right. After doing this, I go back to my guide and I bring my guide down here. Alright. I'm going to create or repeat the process I did earlier on. So I create a new layer, back to line, I draw. Now, after this procedure, I'm going to disable the guide layer, select my move tool, and highlight all the lines I've drawn. Then I position it to the center or the center line here. After doing this, I'm going to group these three shapes here by clicking and dragging it down to the folder here to create a group here, or Control J if you are using a PC, or Command J if you are using a Mac, and name it as guide lines. Now lock this guideline. After locking these guidelines, I will delete this guide. After doing this, I come back on top of this rectangle. I create a new layer on top. On top here, I'll go back to my rounded rectangle tool, this tool. Then I draw a round rectangle like this. I'm going to shape the edges to 25. Alright. So doing this, I'll position it well. Then I change the color of this to pink. Alright. I'm going to create 3 duplicates of this and position them or arrange them very nicely. Now the first duplicate is Ctrl J of this, and I bring this one lower somewhere here. Then before that, let me transform this a little bit smaller. And let me create a duplicate and bring this one here, and create a duplicate of this, bring this one also here, and the last duplicate, I bring it down here. Now the shortcut for creating duplicates is Ctrl J if you are using a PC, and if you are using a Mac, the shortcut is Command J. Now I have these nice rounded rectangles here. Now this is what I'm going to do. If I select the first one, I'm going to name this as 1. Then I come to the second one and name it as 2. Go to the third one, 3, and the last one, 4. The reason why I'm naming this is to help identify each shape. I'm going to position each shape very well. Alright, after doing this, I'm going to introduce some icons in here. So I go to 1, then I create a new layer on top of this one, then I go to File, and I place an embedded. But you can draw it as well, or you can download the image embedded. Then I place my core embedded. So I go to my images on the desktop, then I go to core, place. Right. I'm going to transform this smaller, then bring it here. Now, after doing this, I'll change the color. I want to explain something here. Now, what I imported or what I placed, the embedded I brought here, is a smart object. So I'm going to change the color. In order to do that, I have to overwrite the color by right clicking and entering the blending option. I double click and enter the blending option. Then I go to color overlay and I choose white. After doing this, let me bring a guide here to get an accurate work. I come back here and I go to my shape or my custom shape. Then I select the mill and I make sure I open a new layer. Then I draw a nice shape. The move tool. I move this shape and I transform it a little bit down. I'll change the color to white. Then I bring this on top of 2 because it's on top of the named layer 2. Now we are on layer 3. We create a new layer here. Then with this, I'm going to import or place another embedded. So I go back to images, location. Now let me place this. Now I have to overwrite the color to make it white. I double click here and go to color overlay. When it's white, I come back or I hit on OK. And the last aspect, I'm going to also import or place an embedded. Look for the embedded I want. So I want new embedded, web embedded. This embedded. Then I transform this embedded down. This is okay. I'm going to overwrite this one to white. Let me transform this a little bit down. Now from here, there's what we are going to do. Now if I select layer 1, I select its corresponding image on top by pressing Control or Command on Mac or Control on PC. Then I group these two and name it Call Logo. For doing this, I bring this line to the center and I introduce my text, which is T, and open a new layer on top of the Call logo. Then start typing my number. So my number is +233 space 24 space 123 space 123. Alright, after doing this, let me edit the equal to and change it to plus. I'm going to position this somewhere here. Let's say I'm using 2 numbers. I create a duplicate of this. Then I bring the duplicated copy beneath like this. Now we can see the work of the guide here. It's helping me to get an accurate positioning. Then after this, I think let me increase to 12 by size. 12 is too big, so 11. 11 is okay for this. Then I'll bring a new guide in front of this to get all in line. I'll go back to my second or the two name layer here and its corresponding top layer. Then I group and name it mail logo. And after I bring this guy to the center of the mail logo, then T, or I go to my first two and I come and type my mail. So let's say the mail is abcd45@gmail.com. After typing, I hit on OK. Then I'll move to V. I position this well. After doing this, let's say I have two mails. I create a duplicate of this and bring it beneath it. Then I arrange these two very well. Alright, have something like this. Now we are moving on to the third one. We do or we repeat the process as we did for the first two. Name this as location logo. Then we bring our guide on top of the location logo. Then with T, I type my location. So I'm located at Kushegu. After doing this, I'll move to V, position this well. And after position it well, I take off the guide and see what I did. Oh, okay, but I want to do some changes here. I want to capitalize the R. Right. Now I repeat the procedure by selecting the fourth one and its corresponding web. I group it and name it site or a website. So the short word name is site. I bring the guide in the middle, then T. I type the name of my website address. So let's say www.gazatechline .com. It's on OK. The V I'll move to bring it somewhere here. Now after doing this, I come to this aspect or I go to the rectangle layer. Now I can disable the log by double clicking, or I can click on the log and bring it down to the dustbin here and release to disable. Now that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring horizontal line here. Then after I lock it back, now on top I create a new layer. Then I go for the ellipse tool and draw a perfect circle on top. Now V, I move to remove or position this somewhere nicer. So I think here is okay. Then on top of this, I'll create a new layer. I go to File, Place Embedded. I'm going to import my picture. So this is my picture. Bring it in here, transform it a little bit down. Now this is what I'm going to do. Now with the active ellipse layer, I go on top to the picture layer and right click and go to create clipping mask. Now what the clipping mask does is the picture takes the shape of the object. Now we can see that the picture is having a circular um, design or circular shape now. After this, I'm going to introduce some outline to this. In order to do that, I have to go back to the ellipse, or what helped me to get a cycle, double click and go to stroke. Sorry. Alright. Now with this I want something lighter. This is okay. Now I'm going to group the ellipse and the picture layers and name it as icon or picture for easily identification. I'm going to log this to avoid interference. Then I introduce my text too. Then I type my name here. My name. Then I change this to bigger cases and change the color to white to appear. I'm going to make this visible by 12 font size and bolding it a little bit. And with the move tool, I position this well here. Then I double click in the T to make the text highlighted. And I highlight only the mention and I change the color of the mention to pink. After doing this, I take my text again, then I type C.E.O. Now I'm going to edit this text, change it to white, and reduce or take off the boldness. I'll change the font size to 5 pixels. 5 is too small, so 8. 8 is okay. And let me change the font here. Okay, this font is okay. V, and move or position this here. Double click inside, and I'm going to highlight the CO. Click on bold and change the color of the CO to pink. After doing this, I'm going to place a new embedded here. I'll add a new layer, an empty layer. Then I go to file, place, then I'm embedded. So I look for this. Then I transform this smaller. I'll overwrite this color to white to make it visible. Then transform right. This is okay. After this, I'll highlight all and position this at the center wall. Now I have the center. After doing this, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce my barcode scanner, if any. If you have one, fine. But if you don't have that, you can skip it, or you can write anything here. And before we do that, to avoid clumsy of layers, let us group this as CEO name. Then it's okay. After doing this, we create a new layer here. Then we import, if you have a barcode, import your barcode. having one, so I go to my place and search for my barcode. So I'm searching for my barcode. Where are you, barcode? Right, this is my barcode. I place my barcode here. I'll transform it a little bit smaller. Then I bring it on here. Now, bringing it here, I would like to apply a stroke around this. So I will double click here. Then I go to stroke. And I introduce a pink color here. So color to pink. I hit on. Let me take a light color here. Pink. Okay. Right. I have something like this. Now I would like to introduce something new also here. Now I open a new layer here. And I go back to my rounded rectangle tool. Then I draw a rounded rectangle here. Cancel. Then I chamfer the edges. I make sure the connection is there. The center is there. And I type, let's say, 50 pixels. Right, 50 pixels is okay. But I'll move to, I'm going to transform this and push this up here. I can hide this, but before I hide this, let me change the color here to pink. Oh, let me get a new pink. Okay, this pink is okay. Let me hide this. After hiding this, I'll create a new layer on top of this layer, an empty layer. Then I go back to my polygon tool. Then make sure the size of the polygon is 3, a triangle. Then I draw the triangle. Let me change the color of the triangle to this same pink here. Then with our move tool, I'm going to move this triangle and rotate this triangle. Now to get a rotate curve mouse, when you select the move tool and you click on any part of the anchor point and you move the mouse a little bit from the object you want to rotate, you will see that the mouse will change to a curve something. That's what I'll see. Alright, so it means that when it changes like that, it means that we can rotate the object here. After doing this, alright, I'm going to merge the polygon one and the rectangle or the circle, the rounded rectangle thing we did. Command E if you are using a Mac, or Control E. After merging this, I'll open a new layer on top of this. Then with T, my text tool, I type scan me. Now with my move tool, I position the scan me on top here. Then change the color to white to appear more. And let me change this to 7 pixels and make this bold. Alright, so that is that. If you find this video helpful, you click on subscribe so that you don't miss any video I post, and you give us a like and you give us a comment as well. Thank you.